I don't normally make something like this, but if you're one of my friends, and let's be serious, no one else is watching this, then you know I like analyzing and talking about game design, and I like Yoshi. And boy, what a time it is to be a Yoshi fan. The number of good Yoshi games has doubled since Goodfeel started making them. I'm not going to talk in depth about every little part of Crafted World, but I'm still fine calling this a review because I need to talk about specific parts of it that are really important, and no one else really has. But I'll recap some stuff everybody already knows. The music is adequate. It's not as special as in Woolly World or Island. It's not as bad, as infuriating as New Island. It's not as forgettable as Topsy Turvy. It's fine. The graphics are good, the game is cute, the texture quality is nice, it uses a macro photography look that puts the background stuff out of focus until you're aiming an egg at it. When it is out of focus though, it's pretty terribly low resolution. I'm hoping that the Switch 2 can automatically give that a boost. The controls and physics are fine, there's nothing wrong with the game feel. It plays about how you would expect. I do wish you could aim eggs using gyro controls, but it's not really a big deal. I also wish you could flutter jump by holding a button other than the jump button, because the jump button is the button you also hold to bounce off of an enemy's head, and it's hard to time that bounce because if you press the jump button too early, then you end up flutter jumping instead, and it ruins your momentum. Now what I really want to talk about is the two most common complaints with the gameplay. First, that it's easy.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not really going to talk about that first, we're going to put a pin in it and come back to it later. The other complaint is with the Blockefellers. These guys don't let you into a world until you have a number of flowers to give them. You can think of them as being similar to the jigsaw puzzles in Banjo-Kazooie. They'll check your progress, but since you have to clear all the levels in a world to move on to the one after it anyway, you'll probably have enough flowers unless you play badly on purpose and just have no curiosity whatsoever. Their real purpose in the game is to ask Yoshi to find things for them in the levels. They like collecting souvenirs. These will be objects found in the background or foreground at that level. If you see one, just toss an egg at that sucker. There's one Blockefeller for each world, and each world is 2 or 3 levels long. The complaint that people have is that they only ask you to find one souvenir at a time. You don't get a checklist for everything that they'll ever ask you to find. You don't even get to do any of these requests until you finish all the levels in the world at least once. And I get it. I thought the same thing, that it would be better, more user-friendly if you had a list and could just get everything done at once without having to revisit levels. At first. See, the gameplay loop is given a structure by the requests being one at a time. You enter a new world for the first time. You play these levels knowing nothing about them. They're brand new. They have hidden flowers, they have red coins. You can get a flower for beating the level with full HP. You even get a flower for beating the level with 100 coins, but that one's a gimme. You don't replay any levels repeatedly to search for flowers and red coins and finish with full HP because you know that a Blockefeller will ask you to go back to the level again. You don't throw eggs at every little background object looking for secrets because you know that red coins in the background will always be in present boxes or held by shy guys.
I have no idea what to do with the rest of my life now.
And you haven't been asked to find anything else in specific. So your first go through each level is brisk, more focused on just learning what the level is about and enjoying that you're playing a new level. Usually the resident Blockefeller will ask you for a souvenir from the level's flip side first. These are backwards versions of the levels you just played, with no flowers, no coins, and no HP check. Just 3 Poochie Pups to find and catch for 1 flower each, and a 4th flower if you get all 3 of them to the goal within a time limit. So if you play well, you can get 5 flowers all in one shot the first time you play a flipside level. It can feel tense and exciting trying to juggle paying attention to the background to find that souvenir, catching the pups without already knowing where they are, and navigating the level to make it to the finish fast enough. So then, after a couple of flipside levels is usually when our block friend asks Yoshi to find souvenirs in a frontside level. That is, the normal levels that have coins, flowers, and everything. But since you knew you were coming back, you didn't break your back earlier looking for every flower and red coin there. So, you get sent there for a souvenir hunt, and can take the opportunity for cleanup time. And so each time a Blockefeller sends you to a level for a souvenir, it's generally somewhere you already need to look closer for all the hidden secrets, and it's not the same level that you were just in. This keeps going, and you become more and more familiar with these levels, but cleverly, since the order you go to them is dictated by which souvenir you're looking for, you don't just play the same level repeatedly until you're sick of it. At the very end of this loop, the last souvenirs you need to find will probably be in levels that you have nothing else to find in, and you'll feel like, oh, piece of cake, I can do that. Maybe you've even already seen that thing, and you already know where it is, and you feel a certain, aha, where you and the game shake hands for a second. Either that, or you'll have all the souvenirs before you're done finding all the red coins, and by now you're so familiar with all the levels that it's driving you nuts that somehow there's a hiding place you haven't found yet. And that's just what a good puzzle should do, it should tease your brain. Either way, it's excellent. You wrap it up, you get the last collectibles, the world's complete, and you know this place so well that you could live there. And then you move on to the next world, and it's a great big question mark. You have no familiarity with these new levels. All the secrets are freshly hidden, and you can start again. And that's just so great, the way this game introduces the new to you, and you get through levels with a frantic confusion as to where anything could be hiding, or what these new mechanics are, what's going on, what do these enemies do. And steadily, you shift from that to a surgical hunt for the last secrets a level hasn't given up yet. In that way, it's a lot like an I Spy book that you can go inside and walk around in. I think it's not a coincidence that the presentation style is arts and crafts. That makes it so that the artists can decorate the levels with anything, even with living things. But nothing makes itself stand out with motion. That way, the entire level ends up being both interesting to look at, but not distracting, making it possible to hide everything in plain sight. It's a different kind of game from, say, Metroid Dread or Kero Blaster or Wonder Boy 3, but guess what? 2D side-scrollers can accomplish many different things, some things that have never even been done before. And that brings us back to the difficulty. I get the feeling that most people who say that Yoshi's Crafted World is too easy didn't really do any of the shit that I just described. That they took this game the way you would take a Mega Man game or something. Just beat the levels, beat the bosses, get to the credits. I know it's fighting words to tell somebody that they played a game wrong, but if that's all you did, then of course the game was too easy. You didn't engage with what the game is. You did the bare minimum. I mean, it's not hard to go on a vacation in Hawaii without dying either, but if that's the only thing on your checklist, you don't really get to complain that Hawaii is nothing but a boring hotel room that you didn't leave until your flight home. So, yeah, the game is easy. I mean, it might kill you a couple times, and a little kid might find the levels hard to beat, but honestly, I can't wish it were harder. The difficulty is just perfect for the gameplay loop of cleaning a world of its secrets. It's a little challenging when you don't know what enemies you're going to see in a new level, and they're hassling you as you're coming to grips with any new mechanics, and you're doing your first search for red coins and flowers. If the game were any harder, it would be more annoying and less satisfying to revisit levels and clean them up. It would detract from that I feel right at home here now feeling. And that's why Yoshi's Crafted World is so great. The devs must have known what they were doing. They must have known they were creating this gameplay loop, and that's why each world is only 2 or 3 levels long. It's why the action platforming is a little easier than Woolly World, and it's why the Blockfellers ask for 1 souvenir at a time. I mean, just imagine if every level started you off with a list of the souvenirs, and you played every single level over and over and over, throwing eggs at every little thing that looks like it might be a souvenir without even reading the list, until you finally find everything in that one level. You just moved on to the next one, sick to death of that level that you just played. You don't really feel very good at all, and you never want to play that level ever again. It would be the same content, but this is just how important structure and pacing are. And in that regard, Yoshi's Crafted World is immaculately designed and virtually flawless. Now, I just talked about a Yoshi game for 7 minutes without mentioning Mario one time. That wasn't an accident, but I'm gonna break it now and say that if Poochie is not playable in Mario Kart 9, I'm gonna blow a fucking gasket.